Hey everyone, Sly47 here. Welcome back to Push Yourself. Today we're covering equipment and supplies, and don't worry veterans, I know you're probably like, oh god, another unusable subject for me. Check the timestamps. I'm going to add a section in there about a potential meta change, in my opinion, that's been kind of going on, and I've gotten a lot of mixed reviews on it of whether or not it's actually happening. Is it just a fad? Is it a good idea? A bad idea? I've gotten all over the board, but I've seen it pop up more and more, so definitely want to know your comments, and of course in the comment section down below. But for all those newer players, first section is definitely for you. Let's talk about how to equip your ship and set up those supplies to best boost your ship in the most meaningful way, and also save you a little bit of credits. In the first slot for equipment, you have weaponry. Let's increase your offensive capability of a ship, and let's go through every single one of these. Of course, I did a kind of a spread because you get different options depending on the tier and depending on the ship. So just kind of, this is just a better way of doing it in my opinion. So in the exist category, these are generally for your lower tier ships. You've got aiming system modification 1, which just kind of buffs all the traverse speeds of all of your weapon systems, and also your torpedo tube modification 1, which just focuses on your torpedo tube. Personally, these exist for smaller tiers. They aren't really that effective, and there's just better picks eventually on every single category than these two. So they're there if you just want to have them on low tiers, but don't use them at high tiers. In the unique section, we do have auxiliary armament modification 1, which increases your secondary firing range, your auto secondary firing range, and then your AA ranges. This is specifically only used on AA builds and pretty much German battleships up to a certain tier, because eventually the German battleships get the secondary modification battery 2, which is just straight up better, and they should be using that over the auxiliary armament mod 1. But of course, if you're an AA ship, you want to really screw over carriers that much more. That's definitely a pick. It's more of a unique position in that way. And then of course the secondary battery modification 2 is really only for those ships that is really allowed on that secondary builds are capable of being used, i.e. German battleships. Now for a use category, if you're literally wanting the standard, hey, just Sly, tell me what to use here, main battery mod 1. Get your turrets on target faster, more often, so you can do more damage and get those shells out whenever you're reloaded. That's pretty much it. Main battery mod 1, better traverse in your main battery. Done. It's pretty simple. But let's say you maybe want to fix the reload, the horrible reload, on Russian battleships, and or you're a DD, or a ship with very, very small guns that are putt-putt guns, like Colbert or Worcester, and you're a Worcester not going an AA build, you could choose main battery modification 2. This just helps your reload speed. Commonly, you're not getting hit in those ships, or you're just a ship that has enough health that survivability isn't that much of an issue, getting hit in your turrets or having them taken out, so you're just getting a straight up reload buff. So definitely you could use it on those ships specifically, and there's those unique situations where, of course, Russian battleships, it really does help them. It really makes them go into their own, in my opinion. Now, I did put secondary battery mod 1 in the use category because on the ships that it's actually available for, there's an argument about whether or not the range of the auxiliary armament mod 1 actually makes sense for you, when commonly those ships are more of like a volume of fire secondary effect rather than accurate at all. So sometimes it's best to be like, hey, I'd rather just, if someone's within my 5 kilometer or 4 kilometer range, my auto secondaries or even my main secondaries, I'd rather just shoot them more often because they kind of suck at accuracy anyways. So unless you have main battery mod 2, I'd just say secondary battery mod 1 is just overall a better pick in that side, in this position, if you are going a secondary build. It's very particular, and yeah, it's always those fun situations. So let's go to the meta picks. These are almost always you're going to pick over the rest of them unless you're going to secondary build, which of course is a very particular thing, or an AA build. But we've got main battery mod 3, maximum dispersion on a ship, or on the main battery shells are going to be tighter. It means you're going to hit more shells, which is just straight up better because of course you can use your ship to fix your turret traverse issues on your main battery anyways. So in my opinion, this is just straight up better than the main battery mod 1, but if you feel like you want your guns to get on target more often and you feel like they're accurate enough, then of course use mod 1. but generally you're going to want to decrease your dispersion just to make it that much more accurate. Now, torpedo mod 2, pretty much all DDs or anything that is torpedo focused, this is incredibly powerful, especially at higher tiers where it's more available, where the reload time of -5% is incredibly powerful. You're losing, I think up to one ship gets up to almost like 8 seconds off their reload. That's incredibly powerful on their torpedoes. And then of course you're not really getting generally hit, so that survivability knock is not really affecting you. Finally, artillery plotting room, modification 1. If your ship feels accurate enough, give it more range, and that's fine. That's perfect. It's a very rare equipment to have on a ship, so you'll see this very rarely, but if you feel like the dispersion's fine, this is also a very good meta pick. So hopefully this helps you figure out where to put and what to put into your weaponry slot. And if you have any questions, of course, on any particular ships, put a question down below. We'll help you figure it out. And for anyone wondering about where are the CV mods, CV mains, could you put down what you would choose down below depending on ship types or anything like that, what your list would look like specifically. I'm not a CV main, surface ship main pretty much, and only play CVs whenever people ask me to on stream in order to watch me fail at them. Which, of course, seems like everyone's having fun whenever I'm doing that, but I mostly follow what chat is telling me to put on them, which is sometimes probably wrong. So we'll just kind of let the experts down below give you answers if you are a CV player and wanting to know what to put on. So the second slot is protection, trying to make your ship a little bit more tanky, and exists is really the repair time. You rarely ever need to use the armament mod 2 because there are just straight up better options, purely just straight up better. So let's go to them. On the unique side, we do have deck protection mod 1, risk of fire on the deck, and risk of super structure fire -20%. These are very rarely used, but they can be used to make that ship that much more tankier. But I'll get to another equipment that kind of makes you more tanky by making you more capable of dodging stuff. So I generally would put in unique. There's a few builds that people use it on, especially if they just hate fires and everything like that, especially with how the Smolensk got sold recently. I knew a lot of people using this because, dear God, we all ran into that, didn't we? Multiple Smolensks, potentially even a platoon of them. Yep. But on to damage control system modification 1, fire and flooding resistance plus 10%. This does actually help a good amount, but once again, you kind of run into the problem where the use of the meta category help you more in preventing those fires and floods than just having that resistance. These are kind of the areas where I feel like if they were just buffed a little bit, they'd be more in the user meta, because now it's an actual toss-up of how you want to play your ship. Air defense modification 2, it's unique, of course, if you're running a full AA build, but of course this is just small caliber AA, and there's actually very few ships that have a devastating small caliber AA. But those ships, when you do have it on here, just melt whenever they get into the air, because that 10% is just so insane. You have to figure out which one makes the most sense with how your damage of your AA works on that ship. So just kind of keep an eye on that if you are going full AA build. Now, in the U section and the meta section, we only have one each because these are just clearly better in general, in my opinion. So the steering gear modification 1 is in the U section because there's just a clearly better option in the specialization section, where in the protection section, the meta is just straight up better than the specialization one. It's kind of a flip-flop here. So in the use, of course, increasing your traverse speed and your steering gear survivability, that's pretty good. Your steering gear hardly ever goes out anyway, so it doesn't matter, so it just makes it even less likely. But your traverse acceleration, hey, if you want to go a double rudder setup, including with the specialization, you can have a ship that turns on a dime, and that's pretty good. But you know what also helps is the meta pick, where you increase your acceleration, your power system's survivability. So with that acceleration, you're able to slow down and speed up a lot quicker, and that combined with what happens in the specialization mod that we're probably going to choose in meta, it's just kind of straight up better. But I say that the use is there because sometimes you want to have a more traverse versus acceleration in the second pick, depending on your pick in the third slot. So this is unfortunately one of those tiers where propulsion mod 1 just clearly wins it, because it's just being able to stop and go will help you juke shots, miss shells, turn, miss torpedoes, dodge them by going faster than, where they were pointed at and everything like that. Propulsion mod 1 is just great, but steering gear, it can come up occasionally. Now to specialization, and as you can tell, we pretty much have a very similar situation, but we also have a use and a meta that are blending. Let's go over this. So first, of course, main battery survivability with the armament modification and secondary battery and torpedo tube survivability. It exists. Sure, in my opinion, they're not really that usable. I think they could be swapped out for something even better. Maybe a shell velocity mod that decreases your reload or something, but you get increased velocity. I don't know. There's plenty of other options that we could swap it out for, but realistically, you're never really going to use this. You have much better options in this. Now, of course, we've got unique with the torpedo defense mod 1, torpedo damage reduction plus 15%. This is actually exceptional on those large ships where, let's say even you spot torpedoes far out, you're still unfortunately going to take a bunch. They're just that big. Vermont type of style ship. It's there if you want to be tankier, but of course there's one in the user, the meta area, that in my opinion would help more than just reducing the torpedo damage. Now, propulsion mod 2, max speed plus 5%. This is more for those meme builds where you're just like, hey, I want to take a Kleber to the max speed of just yeeting itself across the map. Definitely use it. It's fun. It works. I've even tried it on the Henry. It technically does work, but there's better things on the Henry. Now, the air defense modification 1 increases your AA range. This is pretty much a go-to on your meme all AA setup. This just goes on immediately. That's your first choice, and then the other two, the first two will be decided upon after that, depending on your AA capabilities. Now, in the using the meta section, I actually kind of have them in between because in reality, they both work. Now, if you are in a stealthy, sneakier ship, use the concealment mod. But if you're in your general normal ship, you use the steering gear mod too. Now, what would you use per se when I was talking about in the protection area? If you use concealment, typically I run the traverse mod in the second slot because that way I can increase my traverse speed. Because realistically, propulsion, it can help you, but it's not going to save you from dodging some torpedoes where that traverse will. But if you're running the steering gear mod too here, you're generally going to be running the propulsion mod in the protection area. So that's kind of the general gist of the situation. So this, third option, it's pretty easy overall to pick. And in my opinion, if you're wanting a very simple, hey, this does everything I want to do on any ship in the game, pretty much mod 1 on the first one or mod 3. So you get the dispersion or the turret traverse and then propulsion and steering gear. It's going to basically be good for almost every single ship in this game, depending on what's available for it. But most of the time, those are available, and it makes your ship generally just better. So let's get into the, how would I say, the interesting meta that's going on right now. For all those veterans that now just skipped to this section, because I basically told you to, if you wanted to skip over the stuff that you already know, and of course tell the inquisitive people wanting to know what is the comment section probably going to be like, because concealment mod. The concealment system modification 1 has been popping up on ships that I really wouldn't expect. And I even have started using this on my Conqueror. And it's worked out surprisingly well. And I want to know in the comment section down below, a lot of veteran players, I've seen this conversation happen on Rulers of the Wave, Liechtenstein's, and Kraken Trials, and on so many different places. Are you putting concealment system mod on any ship that you would kind of per se is atypical of it? Especially battleships. I've seen people using this on the Conch, the Thunderer, the Christopher Colombo, everything like that, to really insane capabilities, because of course with your long reload and everything like that, you can wait a few seconds, cloak back up, and now all of a sudden you can sneak up on certain places and certain parts of the map that you used to not be able to. It's quite an interesting meta, and I've been watching it over the last few months because I wanted to see if it was a fad or not, or if it was just something that was like, hey, these certain players use it and we don't talk about those certain players. But I want to know in the comment section down below, what are your thoughts? Are you using the concealment mod on anything? I've heard from plenty of different perspectives. Some people say it's total rubbish. Some people say that it's absolutely insanely powerful on certain ships. I would say the Conqueror is one where I actually enjoyed on, but I didn't really enjoy it on the Christopher Colombo and such, just because it just doesn't have that much of a difference in my opinion. But love to know in the comments section down below is this a meta? Is this a fad? Is this just some people testing out weird stuff and it's really just going to go away soon, hopefully? Let me know. Okay, now that we're done with the meta talk, let's talk about supplies. A very quick subject on this because, of course, these things are very easy. You buy plenty of them. You pretty much slap them on everything because you get a few after every game and everything like that. You get them for free. Just you typically have a bunch of them. For filthy CV players, you got refined aviation fuel in your supply pack. You're just going to use that to buff your fighters just a little bit. Pretty much that's kind of what you're going to do. Now, for everyone else that actually matters in this conversation, I'm just kidding, mostly joking. Only kind of joking. We're going to go with preventative maintenance pack, improved crew rations, and refined diesel. Pretty much those are going to be your main ones right there. Now, of course, if you're going more stealthy, typically you're going to take out one of them. I'd probably say refined diesel and or preventative maintenance pack for high-grade coal. That way you maintain your ship's traverse speed or your main reload time, but you're not typically getting hit, so the extra 3% isn't really going to help you. And then, of course, any ships that have AA over 4,000 rating, that's when you typically want to use the extra AA ammo. I would typically pop this out once again for the ship traverse speed, but overall only use the extra AA ammo on certain things. Other than that, use that whole left side right there and occasionally swap out for high-grade coal for all the surface ships. They'll pretty much do you well, and you'll have plenty of these, or you just buy them in bulk occasionally. So those are supplies for you. And that's it for equipment and supplies on Push Yourself. Hopefully this helps you figure out what to put on a ship, when to put it on, when not, what not to put on, and also a little bit of a potential meta that's growing. Who knows? We'll find out in the comments down below if I'm just listening too much to the crazy people. Or are we onto something? Who knows? We'll find out. I feel like we're onto something. There's a few ships where it works really well. But either way, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on any platform. Links, of course, are in the link tree down below. Join up on Discord. If you want to get notifications, hit that notification bell and or join up on Discord. There's a bot that tells you whenever a new video goes live on this channel as well. That way, in case YouTube decides to say unsubscribe you, you still get the notification. And Discord's a blast, especially on the Wednesday streams where everyone just jumps on and has fun. Hopefully everyone is having a great day, and a special thank you to the Patreon members of this channel. Thank you so much. If you want to help support on Patreon and help this channel grow, join up. The links, of course, are in the link tree down below. Thank you, everyone, and looking forward to the next Push Yourselves video and even other videos in the future. Have a good one. Peace.